Welcome to the Carnivore Cast, a podcast focused on the carnivore diet and lifestyle, with practical advice from successful carnivores, citizen scientists, and top researchers. I'm your host, Scott Meslinski, and I'm here to speak with experts and experienced carnivores to get answers to your biggest and meatiest questions while helping you live your best life as a carnivore. If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the Carnivore Cast on Patreon. By becoming a patron, you'll help us reach more people and continue to create content on carnivore. There are also exclusive perks available, such as private Q&As, consultations with me, and more. Become a supporter at patreon.com/carnivorecast. Check the episode description for the link. Thank you, and I'll see you there. Matteo Franschetti is the CEO of 8 Sleep, a company focused on using technology to help people optimize their sleep fitness and efficiency. More broadly, Matteo has been on a long quest to optimize his own human performance, health, nutrition, and fitness, and to share that journey with others. Welcome to the show, Matteo. Very excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. Super excited to share more.
Of course. So I wanted to start with a bit about you and your background. Can you talk about your background as an entrepreneur? I know you worked and sold a solar technology company, and how you transitioned from there to an interest in health and fitness.
Yeah, sure. So I had 2 companies before, both of them in clean tech, specifically in solar. After I sold the last one is when I transitioned to 8 Sleep. The reason is I have always been an athlete. When I was a teenager, I was a tennis player. I was also a ski racer and a racing car racer. And so I have always been into performance and recovery, really taking care of my body to perform at my best. And so I started looking into sleep because I was the typical entrepreneur working long hours, and I wanted to compress my sleep. So I started looking for solutions to sleep less and recover faster. And I understood that there was nothing available. And so I started wondering why Elon Musk is taking me to Mars, but I still spend a third of my life on a piece of dumb foam. And I thought, we should fix it.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And I guess, what do you think about one thing that I find really interesting? I've been fascinated by sleep for a while and trying to improve my own sleep. And I think in today's age, I'm of the opinion that we actually have plenty of information out there. And maybe I'm biased and I'm from a certain sect of people who know enough about the benefits of sleep. I think that actually sleep companies and the health industry in general is too forward with talking about the benefits of sleep or the negatives of missing sleep, when in fact, many people know they need more sleep and actually have anxiety about sleep and need things like CBTI, et cetera. And just talking about the importance of sleep all the time, it's like I open up my podcast app or open up, I'm looking at articles and I've had a bad night of sleep the night before. And the last thing I want to do is read like 10 articles or listen to a podcast talking about how important sleep is for me. When I know all of that, I want to improve it. I want to find ways to make it better. I guess, how do you think about the balance between selling people on the importance of sleep, but also not overburdening them?
Yeah, it's a good point, right? Because you don't want to overthink, in particular about something like sleep, because then you don't fall asleep or you feel guilty all the times. Our approach to sleep is slightly different, and we call sleep fitness specifically. And the different angle is sleep is not a waste of time, but sleep is a key component of your health. And so in the same way that you take care of your nutrition or you go to the gym, you need to go to sleep to make sure that your body fully recovers and you wake up at your peak energy. And so almost think of sleep like going to the gym. Is an activity that your body needs, is a simpler activity because it doesn't require the same effort of a high intensity interval training. But you need to put the effort to take care of that, in particular in terms of habits. which means going to bed at the right time, consistency, going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, and treating sleep as a priority. And then you will see the results reflected in your energy and performance.
Yeah, I really like that. I like thinking of sleep fitness. I think that's a great term and a great use of it. And from your perspective, your experience, your research, what are some of the highest ROI ways to improve your sleep? One thing I always am trying to learn more about is there's like this laundry list of common ways to improve your sleep that I've heard. But like almost, I know it's not yet possible. Maybe you're working on this, ways to quantify how important each of them are. Like, could you get 80 to 90% of the benefit from just sleeping cooler and managing light exposure versus like all the other 10 things that are good sleep hygiene habits? So I guess what are some of the top ones in your opinion?
Yeah, obviously I'm a sleep geek, and so I could probably talk for a couple of hours about all the things that I do to improve my sleep. But if we oversimplify, I would say there are two core things. The first one is temperature, right? And is what we also address with our product at 8 Sleep. So temperature can help you fall asleep 20% faster. It can help you get 20, 40% more deep sleep based on what our customers report. You would get 30% less toss and turns and 40% less wake ups. So temperature is a big deal. There is plenty of medical evidence that can have a meaningful impact on your sleep performance. The second big thing is consistency. Just train your body to go to sleep at that time and wake up at that time every single day, also during the weekend. Don't sleep in. So try to make sure you spend between 7 and 9 hours of time in bed asleep, right? Everyone is different. For me, I need quite a lot, more than 8 hours, but don't go below 7 hours. I can tell you that only 1 out of 4 million people can sleep between 4 and 6 hours because they have genetic differences. So when you hear people saying, oh, I'm good with 5 hours of sleep, unless they have this genetic change difference that you can find only in one person every 4 million people, they're just hurting themselves and their health.
That's incredible. Wow. I personally used to go to bed for 10 hours a night. And according to my Oura Ring, at least sleep for about 8. But I would do that because I knew I needed those 8. And I recently, late last year, went through sleep restriction therapy and CBTI, and it actually helped me a lot. If you think you're tired, try sleep restriction therapy. You'll find out what real tired feels like, where basically you take a careful journal of how long you're in bed, how long you're awake, how many times you wake up, et cetera, how sleep you are. And then after a few weeks of recording that, this is like a well-documented research-based approach that's been used for decades. Just for the listeners, I'm sure you know this, Matteo. You scale back, you restrict the time you're allowed to be in your bed to something like 1 hour less than the amount of time you're actually asleep. So for me, I was in bed for 10 hours. I was asleep for 8. I was allowed to be in the bed for 7 hours a night for a certain period of time. And then you add on to it. And the idea is you increase your sleep efficiency. So whereas my sleep efficiency was 80%, sleeping for 8, in bed for 10, by restricting it and then gradually adding time you're allowed in the bed back in, you theoretically increase your efficiency. Have you used that yourself, Matteo, or worked with people who have done that?
So I didn't use CBTI specifically for myself, but I have now read and studied quite a bit about that because obviously it works. I'm lucky that I can fall asleep really fast and I don't have problems to sleep. So my sleep overall is pretty good. But obviously we have a lot of customers that wanted to improve their sleep performance or they suffer from insomnia and they applied these methodologies to improve their sleep.
Yeah. That's super interesting. And so I actually want to get your opinion on some of these other technologies too. So I know a big part of 8 Sleep and the pod, I believe you call it, is temperature. what's some of the difference between the pod and using something like an Ooler or a chili pad?
Yeah, so the key is our machine learning models, right? So we change the temperature and adjust the temperature based on your preferences and biometrics. And over time, you will see this technology improving and improving, right? So if you think of Tesla and the autopilot, the car that is self-driving, the same thing will happen with temperature adjustments today and environmental adjustments in the future. So these other products, they don't have your metrics. They don't have sensors to be able to track your heart rate, HRV, and sleep stages in real time. And so the way they control temperature is pretty, I would say, simple and not dynamic, which instead what you need is exactly a dynamic temperature adjustment because your body changes during the night. And based on that, the temperature needs to change accordingly if you really want to improve your sleep performance.
This episode is brought to you by Element Electrolytes. We know that salt, potassium, and magnesium are essential minerals, especially for those on carnivore, keto, and low-carb diets to relieve hunger, dizziness, cramps, headaches, and keep so many of your bodily processes running optimally, including sleep, brain and mental health, hormonal health, your heart, immunity, and more. Element electrolytes are convenient, evidence-based, and delicious. My wife and I have been using Element for years, every single day. They're great for fueling hard workouts, getting adapted and beating keto flu, fasting, traveling with them, and kickstarting your day with energy. They're used by Navy SEALs, Olympic weightlifters, jiu-jitsu athletes, and everyday people who want to make themselves better, like you and me. They're also founded by superhero Rob Wolf. LMNT is offering free, that's right, free people, Element sample packs to Carnivore Cast listeners. All you have to do is pay for shipping. Go to drinklmnt.com/carnivorecast to claim this awesome deal. That's drinklmnt.com/carnivorecast, one word, and I'll include a link in the show notes. Interesting. Got it. Okay, that makes sense. And is there also a problem with having your temperature too cold at night?
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, that could be a problem in a couple of different instances. First, if the bed is too cold when you get in bed, and at that point you start feeling your extremities cold, because if that happens, your heart rate accelerates to warm them up. The second issue could be when you are in REM phase. So in REM phase, you need what is called thermal neutrality. So the brain needs to feel that there is no risk for your body, temperature risk, and the environment is neutral from a thermal perspective. Otherwise, it doesn't let you fall into REM. On the other side, when you are in deep sleep, your body tends to prefer a colder environment, and specifically a colder core body temperature.
Got it. That's really interesting. And how about these sleep trackers like the Oura Ring, the Whoop? There's a headband one that's supposed to be much more accurate than those two. But curious what you think of these and their like reliability.
I mean, they're all great companies, right? And I think altogether we are educating people to be more wise and focus on their sleep, right? I think the key difference between 8 Sleep and all of them is for them, the data is the end point, right? For us, the data is the starting point. So based on your data, then we have your back and we adjust things for you while you are asleep to improve your sleep, right? None of these devices can actually improve your sleep for you. They can provide advice. And so that's the key difference. Then in terms of technology, obviously a EEG band, so a band that you can wear on your head while you're asleep, can probably achieve a higher accuracy. And the reason is that sleep is quantified and qualified based on your brain waves. And so if a device doesn't have brain waves, can be reasonably accurate, but it will never be 100% accurate. The problem that these devices, like these headbands, have is that they are most of the times extremely uncomfortable. And so consumers, they don't want to use them. Maybe they buy them, they use them 2 days, then they find them uncomfortable and they stop using them. And so there is no business case at that point.
Got it. And how about measuring like sleep stages? How does 8 Sleep go about that? And like how useful do you think that is for people?
Oh, our customers really love it. They tend to use sleep stages, in particular deep sleep, as a proxy of how well they feel and how much sleep they need, right? And it's substantially true. In my case, if I get less than 18% deep sleep, I don't feel good in the morning. If I get more than 20%, I feel like if I had superpowers. Then obviously what matters is not just the percentage, is more the amount of time that you really spent in deep sleep. Because if you get 20% out of 4 hours, obviously that is not going to be enough. But if you assume that you slept 7 to 9 hours, 8 hours and a half in my case, and I got more than 20% deep sleep, that day I will feel like I'm a superhero.
Yeah, that's interesting. How about what are some of the lower ROI things that are like common sleep suggestions? Things you hear all the time. It's like a top 10 sleep tip in blogs or articles that you think are probably like you wouldn't start with those things if you were to tell someone.
Yeah, I could be a bit a contrarian on some of the things, but I think there are a couple. So the first one is the blue light. Based on all my tests and what I tested in my own, and also some medical evidence, recent medical evidence, there are doubts that the blue lights, they really have this major, at least a major impact on your capacity and ability to fall asleep. So that is one thing. And the second one is, I think, often you read, don't use your phone in the 1 hour or 2 hours before bed. And I think that statement is wrong, because I think the problem is not using or not using your phone, is what you are doing with your phone. Meaning, obviously, if you're working on, emails, or you're just working and your mind keeps racing, then for sure you will struggle to fall asleep, because now you have almost this adrenaline in your body, and it's not that 5 minutes later you can just fall asleep and have a restful night, right? But the problem is what you're doing, not that you're doing it through your phone. If you are reading a book on your phone, maybe it's not optimal because there is still some blue light, but I don't think you will have major problems to fall asleep, or at least probably 80% of the people, they would not have problems to fall asleep. And so I would be less focused on doing something with or without your phone during the few hours before bed, and I would focus more on what you're doing.
Yeah, I really like that, because that definitely is, like, for a lot of people, the number one tip to improve.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's unrealistic in our world to say, for 2 hours before bed, don't touch your phone. Some people can do it. Personally, I cannot. And I guess a lot of people don't want, because maybe you're just chatting with your mom on WhatsApp, and I don't think that is bad before going to bed, as long as you're not having a discussion. But to me, if you are, almost bonding socially with some of your close friends or some of your relatives, there is nothing hurting your sleep just because you're handling the phone in your hands.
Yeah. I mean, I personally am on, I still block blue light just because I'm, at home with my wife hanging out. There's like little downside to me,
exactly,
wearing the glasses, but, I am on my devices pretty much up until 20 minutes before bed, because I'm usually watching a show, which is like, I'm watching like a light comedy, like something like Rick and Morty or South Park with my wife, you know, on our phone or on the TV, like very calming, just a nice way to relax before bed. Maybe I'm doing a little bit of stretching or yoga. Like I'm not checking Twitter, responding to work emails, like frantically trying to put out fire drills at work or something like that. So to your point, it's like, what are you doing with the device?
100% agree with your approach. And I do exactly the same.
Yeah. And how about, I'm going to throw some other ones at you. How about like red light therapy? Have you looked into that at all? What are your thoughts on something like that?
Yeah, I did red light therapy multiple times. I think it's one of those things where sometimes it gets tricky to see the immediate benefit, and so you might lose commitment. I had for a while a red light on my desk, and I was using sometimes when I was working and I didn't have video calls. I also had a blue light that helps you to wake up in the morning. I was living in New York. I was waking up at 6 a.m. And so sometimes it was really dark at 6 a.m. in the winter. And so I was using this light to really wake me up and stimulate my body so I could train early in the morning. And it was working well. Another thing I really like is what I call a thermal shock. And so a couple of hours before going to bed or right before dinner, I try to create a thermal shock in my body. And you can do it in a couple of different ways. The simplest is with a shower, right? You keep switching between hot and cold. You do 30 seconds hot, 30 seconds cold for 10 times. That will help you to relax your body. At least it works really well for me. Or if you are in an hotel or if you have the opportunity to have that at home, you could use a sauna and an ice bath.
Interesting. Yeah, I personally do a hot shower like an hour before bed. And I find that helps a lot, but I haven't tried the contrast. I think that would be interesting. Yeah,
try the contrast. You keep switching 10 times, 30 seconds each, and then you see how you feel.
Yeah. And another general question I had for you is like, why start with the bed? You know, there are 100 other mattress companies out there. Obviously, you know, a lot of them, like you said, are a dumb piece of foam. But like, why not focus on something like breathing? I think breathing in sleep is so interesting. You know, it's this taboo topic. A ton of people have sleep apnea, don't want to get checked for it. The medical industry isn't really helping that much. There's a massive amount of people struggling with this. Why not, go somewhere in that direction instead of the mattress?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at all the medical science, you will see that the big elephant in the room to improve your sleep outside sleep medical disorders is really temperature. And so there is where we wanted to start from that one. And then we also realized very early that the best way to really improve your sleep performance to then compress your sleep is through environment optimization. And so starting from the bed is just step one to then control the whole environment. But yeah, the big gains are in environment control.
Got it. And I'm curious, have you heard of the Ned Device and Dr. Kevin Stock? This is just kind of a random question.
No specific. I have heard of that, but I don't recall exactly what it is.
Yeah, I'll shoot you a link. He's been on my podcast. He's a sleep medicine. He's a doctor who also is an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur. He's launched a few companies, but this device he has is not FDA approved. I think he's working on that, but it's very helpful for people with sleep disordered breathing. It's not like medically approved for sleep apnea, though. I think a lot of people with sleep apnea who can't stand a CPAP machine have used it and found it helpful. But it's basically like a filter type technology that you put into your nose, and it helps open up your nasal passages. But it's not like powered by anything. It's not electric. It's just like basically rubber that vents in a certain way. So I thought it was interesting. Something a little bit different in the sleep technology world. piece of dumb technology, if you will.
Nice.
And so I'm curious, what else are you excited about or looking forward to in the future, be it at 8 Sleep or otherwise, with your own health, with your own goals, that you're working on or looking forward to in the coming months or years?
Yeah, I mean, I think the future of preventative health is what is really, really exciting for me. I think there will be a future in the next, call it 5 years, where companies like us, they will be able to tell you, look, you have an 80% likelihood to develop this illness, or that this could happen in your health, or this is how you're aging. And so health will switch from reactive to proactive, right? And so it's not that you will just start taking care of something after something bad happened to you, but you will be able to know in advance that you have a certain percentage of chances to develop a certain disease, and you will start taking care of that in advance. So it's something like if someone today could tell you that now you have a high risk of diabetes in 10 years from now, and so you could start adjusting your diet today. That is not just to scare you, but really to help you live a healthier and longer life, which I think is what we want to achieve as a mission and goal at 8 Sleep.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's really promising for the future. Is individualizing medicine, personalizing it more, and not being a disease management system, but making it really proactive and helping people optimize and lead healthier and happier lives. That's really exciting to me too. Well, Matteo, this has been great. I'm sure folks will want to learn more about the pod and about you. Where can folks find out more about both? And I'll, of course, have links to everything in the show notes and at carnivorecast.com.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great. And where are the best places for people to find you?
You can go on our website, 8sleep.com, 8 like the number, just in letters, so EIGHT sleep.com. And there on the homepage, you can also see my Twitter account. I'm pretty active on Twitter, so feel free to follow me if you want to know more about sleep.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thanks to you.
If you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the Carnivore Cast on Patreon. By becoming a patron, you'll help us reach more people and continue to create content on carnivore. There are also exclusive perks available, such as private Q&As, consultations with me, and more. Become a supporter at patreon.com/carnivorecast. Check the episode description for the link. Thank you, and I'll see you there. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Carnivore Cast. If you enjoyed this episode, please review on iTunes. It really helps us out. And share it with a friend. What questions would you like answered, or who would you like to hear from in the carnivore research community? You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Carnivore Cast, or go to carnivorecast.com. You can also email me at info@carnivorecast.com. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep it carnivore.